I'm Maddie Sloane and welcome to Snap Happy, the photography show. We have some great photography tips and guests for you today. But first up, we join Darran Leal on the next leg of his outback adventure as he travels up the Oodnadatta Track.
I love exploring Australia, and over the years, hopping on a highway, going through the middle of nowhere is such an exciting thing to do.
We've left the Flinders and we're on the road to the Kimberley. Overnight we had lots of rain. This created some interesting photographic conditions with clouds, and I love the muddy road conditions.
We're in Maree, famous location to start the Oodnadatta Track and Birdsville Track. And I'm walking around looking for things to photograph, and look at this. Just stunning, a great story, and that's what I'm after. I'm trying to visualize the story. So I'm using aperture priority, f11 to start with, and a super wide angle lens. So this is actually a 12mm lens on a full frame sensor. I can get up close to some subject and it gives a three-dimensional type result. So in this case, I'm wanting to look at foreground, midground, and background. By doing that, I can really tell the best of the story. I've taken my time and gone around the vehicle, 2 or 3, 4 different spots, and there's 2 that really stand out to me. One is from this position here, and it's looking along the car with the bike in the background. The other one is from a higher perspective looking down over the scene. You choose which one you like. We're on the Oodnadatta Track. We've had rain. It's unusual to get rain in this part of the world, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. And there's stunning reflections here. We've got beautiful little cumulus fluffy clouds. I'm going to use a super wide angle lens, wide as I can. I'm also going to use my flip screen so that I can get down very low, and I'm using aperture priority, f11, and you wait until you see the result. Really cool. So where there's water, there's always life. And in the centre, frogs very quickly come out straight after rain. And I had a look, and there's these tiny, tiny frogs. They're literally the size of my little fingernail. I've put on my long telephoto lens for this, 100 to 400mm. I've also put on some extension tubes. Now these are just hollow tubes that allow me to extend the focal length of the lens so that I can actually get a better magnification occurring. You actually lose your ability to focus to infinity, but now what I can do is focus and get a better magnification for very small subjects. And yes, the centre has a lot of flies.
I have a great passion for wildlife and nature, and we actually had some great opportunities for wildlife.
We've been doing a long day down the Oodnadatta Track. Cool photographic opportunity. There's a dingo here. Let's have a crack at it. Aperture priority, 5.6. I'm ready to go. The dingo's taken off. I'm thinking, why was the dingo around here anyway? And we've just looked over a little bit further. There's 2 wedge-tailed eagles on a kill. I'm going to go through the best way to approach wedge-tailed eagles or perhaps other animals in the same situation. For me personally, it's all about being prepared. So I've got my settings ready, I've got the right lens on. I'm then going to look at zigzagging very slowly to the animal. So what I'm going to do is not do a direct line. I don't look at the animal too much. And at different spots, I'll stop, wait, and just look and let the animal get used to me. You'll be amazed how close you can get. We've now walked halfway from the vehicle to the birds. We've zigzagged slowly, we stop every now and then, and this is proving to be very beneficial because they're getting used to us. So we've already got some cool photographs. I think we can still get closer. The less movements and sharp movements you make, the better chance you have of getting close to these animals. We're now just 10 metres away from the wedge-tailed eagles. This is really, really cool, and I'm excited. So again, I'm using aperture priority, 5.6. I've got my shutter speed up to around 2,000th of a second to freeze movement. I'm aiming for a couple of shots here. The wedge-tail's actually sitting on a dingo and eating a dingo. That's very rare in itself. So I want to get that shot. There's a very good chance eventually the wedge-tail will fly. Instead of being nearly full frame, I'll back off and give space for the bird to fly into. Their wings are very large. I'd rather crop a little than crop their wings off. What a fantastic experience. Fraser and I, we took our time, went in step by step. Not only did we get wedge-tailed eagles, one of my favourite birds, but we got up very close to them. We're 10 metres away. They're a stunning animal. I highly recommend take your time, don't rush things, have your camera settings ready. You'll get some great results. Have a go.
Join Darran for the next episode as he arrives in Western Australia to explore the vast landscapes of the Kimberley. Glenn Mckimmin is a professional landscape photographer with an incredible portfolio of images from across the country and the world. He has a wealth of knowledge and loves to share it with people on his workshops and tours. I caught up with Glenn in Sydney, where he has been running some very special and unique workshops. Let's find out more. Glenn, welcome to the show. What are we doing here in the heart of Sydney?
Well, in the heart of Sydney today, we are going to go up on this beautiful bridge and have a look what it's like to look back down on our beautiful city from very high.
You're obviously passionate about sharing your knowledge. Why is that?
Look, I'm passionate about the industry in general. I've got, a business called Photo Workshops where I take, luxury tours all over the world. Not this year or last year, but in general, I've been doing that for about 8 or 9 years. And I love sharing knowledge. I love being out like under the Northern Lights in Norway, photographing nature with people that are all just vibing on it. It's such a cool thing to do. Everyone's excited. We're trying new cuisines. We're doing all that sort of stuff. And the other thing I do is Aperture Australia. I started a conference because I am passionate about the industry and because my generation weren't maybe doing enough to take the industry where it needed to go. And without us caring enough, the industry sort of will fall down, and I didn't want that to happen. So I started that conference to try and educate people a little bit more on the art of photography, how to make a career, and listen from people that have been there and done it. And hopefully that being done help people either learn something or maybe make a commitment to be a photographer and help them out.
Incredible. Now you've travelled all across the world and within Australia as well. What are some of your favourite locations?
Favourite's hard. There are so many places. I've been from anywhere from Norway and the Lofoten Islands, sitting under the Northern Lights in the middle of the night, to Slovenia, drinking orange wine on the canals and travelling into the Swiss Alps and Italian Alps. Kamchatka is a quite incredible place with 900 kilo bears where you're just literally walking straight past you. Shooting the Holi Festival in India is absolutely incredible. We cover our cameras up, but we're getting pelted with powder and water for 8 hours at a time. Another place that's completely untouched, in my opinion, is Sri Lanka. It's an incredible place to go. I think one afternoon I saw 300 elephants, leopard. It's an incredible country. And even in our backyard, the Snowy Mountains, Kosciuszko National Park is incredible. Even if you're heading up into Charlotte's Pass, there's the most incredible snow gums, very old, totally twisted. There's authentic Australian wildlife. I got wombats, 2 wedge-tailed eagles in a tree together, kangaroos in the snow. It's amazing. So yeah, there's so many locations. I can't really narrow it down too much.
Now you obviously love landscape photography. What is it that you love about that genre?
See, it's great going out and helping people and taking photos with people. I love that. But for me, when I'm out on my own, hiking into a location or researching a place to go, that's my happy place, so to speak. So it's where I can actually unwind. I have ideas come into my brain. I can relax. And I'm just always present in the environment. I'm not trying to be anything else. And I find that that's where my best work happens. It's all simple, cut down. Sometimes I even block the back of the screen because I don't want to see the screen. And it's all about, for me, trying to create a connection to people and their land. And that might be someone that's been to a place or wants to go to a place. As long as I can show them something beautiful and they walk into my gallery and they see a giant print with that amazing detail and they can picture themselves either in that location or it takes them back to that location or it maybe just makes them feel something really nice. That's what I'm more concerned about, and that's, I guess, why I love landscape photography.
Beautiful. Now you're also a Fujifilm X photographer as well, using the GFX system at the moment. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, particularly the new GFX, as the 100S is just out. It's an incredible camera. There's so many incredible features in it. But one of the huge things I use it for is because I do huge prints. So I want people, when they walk into my gallery, to actually feel like they're in the place that I've photographed and try and bring that emotion back to them. So the detail that I'm getting on these prints is just like nothing I've ever seen. I was actually just recently down in Kosciuszko National Park using the new 100S. We were on assignment, essentially testing the camera and doing some promo video. And I was actually really amazed at it. It's quite incredible. It's only 900 grams, I think. So being able to walk up a mountain, hike work with that like tiny little camera but still have 100 megapixels is actually amazing. Also the IBIS, which is the built-in in-camera stabilization, which means that I can shoot at really low shutter speeds and handheld, which is amazing. I was shooting at a 15th of a second in a stream, getting the water blurry but everything else sharp. For me, that's a game changer, not having to carry a 20-kilo tripod in or... So yeah, it was actually an amazing experience, and that camera is just taking my actual printed images to another level.
Perfect. Now obviously you love taking photos, but why do you think it's important to print them as well?
To me, photography is the end result is a printed image, and I'm extremely passionate about that. I've got a company, Creative for Life, that we print and frame work for photographers all over Australia, and I'm extremely passionate about people getting their work printed, even if it's their own photos or if it's professionals that are selling stuff. To have that work presented correctly on a wall, that's, for me, photography.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Stick around because later in the episode, we head up onto the Harbour Bridge and Glenn shares some handy tips.
Hi, I'm Saul from Camera Electronic, and this is my brother Howard. Our dad started this business 50 years ago, and we love photography. We support photographers all over Australia. We've got a great website and 3 stores in Perth, and we want to share some tips and tricks about cameras and photography today. What are we going to do, Howard?
So today we've got the Leica Q2. Got 2 fantastic versions, one in colour, one in monochrome, so black and white only. Really exciting. 28mm f1.7, super fast autofocus. It's got the same processor in it as their flagship medium format camera, so really fast camera. And we're going to go out to Darran Botanical Park, about 45 minutes out of Perth, and have a look at some nature there.
Fantastic. 47 megapixels, beautiful flowers. Here we come. Which I love coming to a beautiful park, a botanical park, where you think you'd only be chasing the colours and the flowers. I actually like to look at the cobblestones, the walkways, some of the old buildings, and record something from a completely different perspective in stunning contrast in black and white.
So no colour at all?
No colour at all, Howard. What are you thinking? You've got the exact same camera in colour.
I do, so I've got the Leica Q2, the regular one, colour. I can still shoot this in monochrome if I want to, but I'll probably stick to mostly colour today, unless we may even try one where we try the same shot a bit after. What do you reckon?
I think we have a little competition. I'll give him a voucher to Camera Electronic.
I'm going to be focusing more on trying to find some bright colours today, maybe play around with a bit of macro, a bit of shallow depth of field with the high aperture, things like that.
Awesome, and I think the reason I want to go for the monochrome, even though you get stunning monochrome shots out of the Q2 regular, is that the tonality really just looks for all the different ranges of black and white and all the different tonalities within those whites and in those blacks, the high contrast, the low contrast. So it's a different perspective, although the black and white out of the colour is also quite lovely as well.
Oh, definitely. Well, being a full frame 35mm sensor, it's 47 megapixel, people think it's a bit crazy, it's a fixed 28mm lens, there's no zoom. How do you do it? Well, one way is zoom with your feet, of course, walk in and out to the subject. Of course, you can only do that so much. So when you want to get something that's a bit further away, that high resolution sensor enables us to really crop in on it and go in on the small detail.
It allows you 4 different options for cropping, which is the classic focal lengths of the Leica genre. So you have a 28mm, nice and wide angle, great for your landscapes, 35mm, a little bit tighter, still good for landscapes and street photography, then a 50mm and then a 75. And you naturally go down the different megapixels as you go, 47 megapixel at 28mm, down to 36 megapixel at 35mm, then 24 at 50, and then down to 12 megapixel at 75, which is great for some stunning little portraits or just a tight crop.
Yeah, you can still print a decent size with that too, at least A4 with that, no problems. So I like to play with a bit of macro sometimes, and you know, we're better with these amazing flowers and nuts and everything else to shoot here. It's got a beautiful little macro switch here, take it straight through. I go to a manual focus to my closest point, which is about 17 centimetres in this case, and then I just rock focus in and out like this, and then that way it'll get to that point where I'm in focus, and then I'll sort of hold steady and click the button. Rather than trying to move the focus ring too much, I find that a lot more difficult.
One of the stunning things about shooting in purely black and white is looking for the tonality that is going to do that black and white sensor justice. You look behind me here, this is a stunning scene that's obviously a tribute to someone, and you've got a perfect mix of the man-made logs along with the stunning natural vines encasing it, making it feel warm and homely, because you're actually talking about a tribute to someone that's passed away as well. So when they built this structure, you see the leading lines, it's perfect for black and white, absolutely perfect.
The Leica Q2 actually goes to f1.7. What that means is it lets in a lot more light. So at 1.7 you can get a really nice bokeh and a shallow depth of field. So if you just want to get just a small part of the person in focus, maybe like if you just wanted to get Saul's nose through to his ears in focus or something like that, and get a soft creamy look on the outside, you can shoot at 1.7.
If you want to shoot at, say, f22, go completely the opposite direction, everything behind us will be nice and sharp.
The only drawback is, of course, you do need to have a fair bit of available light, and if you're just stopping down and it's to f22 and trying to do a landscape, you need to make sure that you've got enough light.
You might even need a tripod. Oh, there's some scenes here I think just have to be shot in black and white.
Definitely colour for the macros and the flowers and things like that. Portraits and the landscapes, I'd say black and white.
I think if Arallil was in full bloom in spring, it would have to be colour.
For more inspiration and expert advice, head on over to the Camera Electronic website.
Hi, I'm Glenn Mckimmin and I'm the first artist in residence here at the Bridge Climb in Sydney. Today I'm going to give you an opportunity to see what it's like photographing from the top of the bridge. It's an exclusive opportunity that not many photographers are ever going to get. We take limited groups up and it's an incredible experience. Okay, so we just reached the summit of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It's absolutely beautiful up here. As you can see, we've got the Opera House, and we can also see out to the west, right out to the Blue Mountains. Not so much today, it's not the clearest day. But the first thing you got to think about when photographing from a height like this is probably your shutter speed. You can't shoot with a slower shutter speed because if there is wind, we're pretty lucky today with little wind, but if you do get wind, you get a little bit of movement. So remember, always keep your shutter speed probably a 500th of a second or more, and that way you'll make sure your images are sharp when you get down, because it's a long way to get back up to do it again. One of the great features of the new GFX100s is the IBIS feature, which basically means that you can shoot at slower shutter speeds, but handheld, because what happens is the sensor actually is stabilized, allowing us to handhold and not get that movement. Another key thing to think about when you're photographing from heights like this is the lens choice. So obviously once you get up here, as you can see, the lenses are attached, everything's clipped on, cable tied. So you really got to make a choice about what you want to photograph. For instance, I've got a super wide angle lens on, which is going to get me the whole city, the harbour, the Opera House and everything. It's going to look really nice. But I've also just seen a bunch of birds fly past. So had I had a longer lens on, I could have zoomed in and done a bit of tighter stuff. But as always with any form of photography, the lens choice is crucial to getting the image that you're after. So I've just switched over to the western side. So over here we can see out towards Parramatta, we can see the Blue Mountains. We've got the beautiful new Crown Tower and also Luna Park, and just a really nice vista looking out to the western side of Sydney. The trick up here is what do you photograph? So there's a few options. We can do the Crown, looks quite beautiful in the right light. We've also got Luna Park, which is a very iconic Sydney place. The other option is to do a big giant stitch of the entire area. So what you're essentially trying to do is capture the mood of the western side of Sydney, and you can do that by including the landmarks, by framing things with ferries coming through, waiting for light, waiting for birds, whatever might pop past, and then using that in order to create a really great solid composition that's going to look really nice. Another really great feature of particularly the GFX100s is this histogram slider, which is actually on the screen. So it'll actually tell you if you're in or without of range, if you're blowing whites out or losing shadow detail. And that's always a good thing to do. If you're ever out photographing, don't ever trust the back of the screen to make sure you've got a good photo. You've always got to look at the histogram. It will literally tell you the data that's in that file, and it's something that you should always trust. On days where you've also got a bit of glare like this, we've got some pretty intense light happening. It's always really, really good, I find, to maybe slightly underexpose the image. That way you're going to get all that detail in, it'll cut through some of that brighter area. You can still pull the shadow detail out, but it's a really good thing to try and sometimes just slightly underexpose on days like this. Okay, so we've just got down from the bridge, and I thought there's one other thing I'd just like to show you. We've come to this beautiful place. We've got some amazing shots from up on the bridge, but what can we do down on the harbour? There's some really great angles of the bridge from down here, and it brings me to an amazing feature within this camera. It's a new 100S, obviously. There's a thing called pixel shift. And what it does, it takes 16 photos and the sensor slightly moves, and it will actually, later on, we can join those together and get a 400 megapixel file. So I hope you learned a few things today. We've obviously been up on top of that bridge and shown you how to photograph down, some handy little things that I hope help you out in your photography journey, and I hope to see you on a workshop or a tour or somewhere soon.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Snap Happy, the photography show. Go to our website and sign up there to our mailing list to join our community. We have heaps of tips, special offers and videos for you there. Happy shooting, and we'll see you next time.